So you've done the self-help and you've dipped into some personal development, but now you ask the question, now what? What can you do? Well, if you want to escape the apathy, step right this way. So twice a year, I teach a course called Autonomy. It's a 12-week personal development and training course. What people get out of it is multifaceted. There's curriculum, there's exercises, there's camaraderie, you make new friends. There's a whole lot of interesting things. We're going to hear a sample from the course right now, and let's take a look at the value these students are getting. Who's looking to be courageous on this Easter Sunday? Who wants to rise, make themselves known?
I have two questions, Richard.
Mm-hmm. Good morning.
One,
how you doing, Kat?
I'm good. I've been digging into the Getting Things Done. I had a plane trip and listened to most of it on the way out and back. And
yeah, what did you think?
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So I'm going to be implementing it. I've been struggling with time blocking and all the advice to do time blocking for so many years. And I just love his approach of being like the martial arts where stuff is coming at you. And in the moment, you got to make a decision about what to do with the thing that just happened. Yeah. And I'm also great.
And I like his methodology on how to do that. If it takes less than 2 minutes, we're going to do it now, which means, put it in the calendar, something to do, or we're going to do it now as an activity, right? Those two things kind of like take 2 minutes. If it takes longer than 2 minutes, he's saying schedule it for later, right? Isn't that part of his rule? Which again goes to your calendar. I got to schedule it for later.
Yeah, or just put it on the list first and worry about, you got to prioritize it first before you even know if you want to schedule it.
Yeah, and then if it's not actionable right now, then you could put it in your inbox and deal with it at your once a week kind of processing ceremony. That is the one part after 20 years of doing his system I have still not nailed down. And it's probably the biggest part that'll help me because it's the part that I haven't done yet. Right. So I get stacks of stuff and then I randomly have some time to sit down. I go through it and I try to, but my whole desk is my inbox still. And I used to get my email inbox to 0. And that felt so good, but it's gotten away from me again. And I kind of like just manage it day by day. And I'm sure I got thousands of things in my inbox right now. So that's why I haven't brushed up on it in over a year. So I usually listen to that twice a year. And then I brush up and kind of catch up on my folders and my labels and all the things to maintain that system. So like any other system, like I'm using it every day, but I'm not maintaining it. And slowly it atrophies. And at some point I say, okay, I got to get real organized. Let's sit down, spend some time with David Allen again, listen to the same jokes I've laughed at before, because he's a funny guy, and work out the kinks. So is this your first time going through his stuff and being familiarized with his method?
Yeah, I'm thinking I might have heard of it a few years ago, but I just heard a really poor summary of it, and now with this depth, and thank you for sharing that whole recording. I think you really need the depth to do it.
And I think
it's my first time digging into it and going, okay, I'm going to do this. Yeah.
And the instruction verbally is different in order than what's in his book. And I got so familiarized with the verbal ordering that when I went back and revisited the book, I was like, oh, this is really clunky for me. It's like out of sync with what I come to think as, right? But the prescient part on his, like, first off, he's a lazy guy. And then he's able to figure out like, well, how can I get more lazy time? Well, I got to get this other stuff in line, right? And then he was able to see the brilliance of a 3-step method: input, processing, and output. And so the same method I teach for critical thinking and creative problem solving, all these other things, I was like, oh, that's what GTD is. So it could be an IPO method if you wanted to genericize it. It's input, processing, and output. And then the flow chart in his book, that's one of the most valuable parts of the book, is that flow chart. And I used to have that printed out. I still have it printed out, I think on it's under the glass on my wife's desk right now, but I have that chart printed out. So if you ever got like overwhelmed, you can just look at the chart and be like, oh, I need to do the someday maybe list with this, right? It's not something I need to deal with right now. And the only other part I never did on his, where he has the revolving 30 days of individual folders. Mm-hmm. I just could never get to that part where I had that discipline to be like, okay, I'm going to put something, I have to pay this bill on the 20th. So I'm going to put it in the 20th. And when I get up to the 20th, I'm going to open that folder and deal with what I have to deal with that day. That's the idea, is to take all this stuff and now you parse it out through your month and you don't have to deal with all this stuff all at once. I just never kind of got to that. And, having automated payment reminders and other things electronically, I also just never got to that. But theoretically, you could have electronic folders just like that. And on the second day of the month, you go into the second of the month, and the thing that you have to do on the second of the month, put something in the septic tank or whatever the thing is, mow the grass, it'll show up and remind you have to do that thing that day.
Having the freedom to be in control of my time and my workload has always been really important to me. So I took Autonomy and I got some high value skills that'll let me work anywhere at any time. I got the skills that'll let me overcome the problems and challenges that come up in my day-to-day life. And I overcame my fear and my self-doubt, so I'm not procrastinating anymore. You can take your scarcity mindset and switch it out for an abundance mindset at getautonomy.info. Check it out today.